People hate to see animals locked up in cages, but don't hesitate when it comes to inflicting the same torture on our fellow humans. Where's our compassion? We're all human, and we all make mistakes. The prisons in the United States are costly and counterproductive. If we implemented probation more often and started rehabilitating our prisoners, we could be saving our taxpayers massive amounts of money, and crime rates would actually be decreasing. Let's discuss our current policies in the prison system. Mass incarceration is not working for anybody. Not for the people in prison, not for the families and communities of the prisoners, and definitely not for me and you, the people paying for it. The matter of the fact is that it's not effective in deterring or reducing crime. America is a half a century into massive anti-crime investments, and yet crime is no lower than it was 50 years ago. The Bureau of Justice Statistics did a major study and found that 67.5% of all inmates released in 1994 were rearrested within 3 years. If punishment is supposed to deter people from crime, wouldn't it be expected that prisoners would be the most deterred, since they have actually been in this prison system? Now I bet you're thinking that if we made our prisons more severe, then less people would be returning. But the truth is, our reoffender rate is as high as it is because it is too severe. Our prisons are functioning as schools for crimes. By deepening inmates' ties with other criminals and subjecting them to an environment that undermines personal responsibility. Prisoners are constantly fearing of getting raped, assaulted, and killed. A study of prisoners in Midwestern states found that about 1/5 of inmates had reported a pressured or forced sex incident while incarcerated. And as described by Robert Johnson in The Pains of Imprisonment, there are prison survivors and non-survivors. The prison survivors become tough and aggressive, while non-survivors become weak and vulnerable. Neither of the two are able to control their lives on the way out. As leaving prison, they will bring with them scars and learn behaviors of violence and suppress feelings of rage that continue the cycle of harm. Prisons aren't getting rid of our criminals, it's just producing better, angrier, and more violent ones. There are very few programs to rehabilitate them or to give them skills or opportunities to succeed as law-abiding citizens. It just forces them to go back to crime so that they can eat and provide for their families. The prison system is failing, yet you are still paying for it, literally and figuratively. With 2.4 million people currently incarcerated in the United States, the cost is enormous. According to the Pew Center, housing an inmate costs approximately $30,000 a year per inmate. And in a state such as California, it can cost an astonishing $50,000 per year per inmate. This price tag comes at a direct expense of your public money. It could be spent on public education, medical care, and public assistance, but it's wasted on prisons. Prisons are placing an economic burden on our nation, and states need to come up with creative solutions to meet enormous budget deficits. The United States correctional policies need to start working for the interest of public safety and not profit. We need to invest in alternatives to incarceration, adopt proven rehabilitation programs, and help inmates become better people, not better criminals. State and federal agencies would save roughly $3 billion per year if we reduce the prison population by 10% by moving individuals into the parole system. The Bureau of Justice Statistics showed that 90% of people on parole do not return to prison for a new conviction. Parole allows people to return to their communities and to participate in employment, treatment, education, and access to families and other support systems. We also need to start reducing our crime sentence length for nonviolent crimes. We would save enormous amounts of money without affecting crime rates because as offenders age, the propensity for crime declines. Our correctional programs should make inmates better people and offer ex-offenders real preparation and a real opportunity to succeed as law-abiding citizens. We can do this by training offenders in a marketable skill, assuring them the right for equally competing in jobs, and utilizing their time and punishment in ways that promote personal responsibility. This way they will be able to integrate into society and take care of themselves and their families while they will be able to leave the life of crime. These changes are proven to work, and you and I will benefit from them. According to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, nonviolent offenders account for more than 50% of all inmates and cost our nation $24 billion every year. If nonviolent offenders were out on parole instead of imprisonment, your tax money would be better invested for 3 reasons. First, it actually deters crime. As discussed before, 90% of people on parole do not return to crime. This is much better than the 67.5% of inmates who do return within 3 years. Secondly, they are cheaper. Typically, parole programs cost taxpayers $7.40 per day per parolee, while prisons cost $78.95 per inmate per year, or per day. Lastly, it's better for our economy. Through employment, people on parole are able to purchase from local businesses and financially support their families, instead of us supporting them with welfare. With an increase in parole and an increase in prison rehabilitation programs, there would be a drastic decrease in reoffenders and in our prison population. We would be in turn saving loads of money, and this way we will now finally be able to spend on education, medical care, and other public services. If you still believe that the current system is best for our country, imagine one of your friends or family members in a prison. After hearing about the many ways that prison can negatively affect a person, ask yourself this: do you think that they would become a better person after 5 years of incarceration? How about 10 years? How about 20? Right now, there are thousands of kind, caring, and deserving people in our prisons, and that just simply made a mistake. I think it's time that we give those people a second chance so that they can turn their lives around.